This is the, oh. This is the beginning of the Chico Unified School Board meeting for today, September the 21st. We will first go into closed session and come back out at 6 o'clock to open our live session. So I'll see you then. Thank you. I am calling the open part of the board meeting into order. We have been in closed session, and there's nothing to report from closed session other than one board member is getting a lot older. So with that, then, we will go to the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And you guys at Emma Wilson, that was great. Okay, so we're going to move to student reports.
Well, we are in for a treat tonight. I think this is the largest student group that we've had come to a board meeting, so thank you all for being here. I'm going to introduce our newest elementary principal, Courtney Conley, and she's going to share what we will see tonight.
I am so honored to be able to be back here with this team. It is just a great place to be. So I am happy to introduce tonight. We have some first graders here. They're here to do a chant for you, their cheer that they do to create community in the school and just start the day off on a great note. And then we have some leadership students who will talk to you about the great things that are happening at our school. Everybody ready?
Thank you.
Anybody want to say their name? Yes, we like that. Come here, bud.
I would love to hear your names, guys.
Come here. Come say your name.
My name is Ben.
Oh, okay, Ben,
Anybody else?
who's next?
Hudson, do you want to say your name? Come over here. Okay.
My name is Hudson.
All right.
All right, anybody else? Brigitte, you want to?
My name is Brigitte.
Okay.
Ava. Ty. No. Anybody else?
I might have to give you a name, peanut butter or chocolate or.
Hi, my name is Sigliali Villaseñor, and we are student leadership from Emma Wilson Elementary School. There have been lots of changes, but it's been a great start of a great year.
Hi, my name is Gina Massey. Today I will be explaining PBIS rotations and walk and talk. PBIS rotations are a way to remind students at the beginning of the year to follow the rules. This has obviously worked because our school has been honored with a gold PBIS trophy. Walk and talk is a new thing this year. It is something we do every morning. Everyone heads out to the blacktop and we walk and talk to our friends while we get our energy out and start our day on a good note. Thanks for your time.
All right.
Hello, my name is Zoe Chesterman, and I'll be talking about PTSA and the awesome carnival they put on. PTSA is a group of parents that help our school with events, fundraisers, and helping our school be the best it could possibly be. Just last week, they put on a super fun carnival where families came together, played games, got prizes, bought auction baskets, and had some great food. The carnival is just the first of many events PTSA plans for our school.
My name is Woodrow Park, and my favorite event is Treat and Greet. It is so safe, and a lot of people come to participate every year. This book fair and cookies with Santa is another fun event for other families, and we have the best Santa helpers around. These are a few things that show the fun in our school.
All right.
Hi, I'm Amelia Lindquist, and I'm in 5th grade. We participate in many community events as well, like the Parade of Lights and Read Across America. The Parade of Lights is a great way to show our school pride to the community, and we have even won awards for our floats in the parade. Read Across America is a fun event where we invite families and community members to join us in an afternoon of reading.
Hi, my name is Emma Steinstrucker, and I wanted to tell you all about the importance of kindness at our school. We always celebrate Kindness Week, and we have raised money to put in school design buddy benches around the school. We have kindness reminders out all around the school.
Hello, my name is Ada Matherell, and I'm going to tell you about our big fundraiser, the Ram Run. This is a great school event where students can earn prizes, set goals, and raise money for our school. We have a big run day with music, water, and lots of people. So when May comes, we really get to run around and pour water on ourselves.
Hi, my name is JJ Magnata, and I am here to talk about new things we have planned for this year. We are bringing back family movie nights and holding family math nights, and hoping to raise money for a track or equipment to keep kids healthy and moving.
My name is Maya Green, and I'm here to tell you about student leadership. We have many students involved and lots of fun activities planned. We participate in assemblies, plan spirit days, and help in many ways all year long. Day on the Green is my favorite, and it is our way of putting on a fun end-of-the-year event for all the students at the school. Thank you very much for inviting us and listening to all of the great things happening at Emma Wilson Elementary.
Okay, I want to know how many kids I painted their face at the carnival. None of you? Oh.
Do we have any questions for these outstanding students?
I just had a comment. The walk and talk is something that everybody should be doing, because I think that you're on to something on the getting outside and just getting your words out and getting your energy going, and it puts us in a good mood for the day when we get to just be outside and chat with our people.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing.
All right.
Thank you all.
I know you also have they're big buddies to the little ones at school? Ooh, yes. Okay, how many people are a big buddy?
So we haven't done that in a super long time because of COVID. But we're hoping to start that back up this year.
Okay.
And we would be big buddies.
All right, good.
Yes, 4th and 5th would be big buddies, and the rest of the grades would be the little buddies.
Okay.
I have a question. How many of you have been in student leadership for more than 1 year?
I have been in student leadership last year and now this year.
All of us that came here have already done leadership before.
Great. Fantastic for staying with it. Good job, guys.
I love the confidence of this group, and huge thank you to all the parents for coming out and bringing them here and the show of support. It just shows so much about your school community. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Huge shout out for all of the families and students who came, and the first grade team, and Lori Barnes and her leadership team. They're doing amazing things at the school, so thank you so much. You're wonderful.
Thank you, Lori. And we do have a speaker on this topic, Dr. Kaiser.
Molly Pearson, that one? Oh, no.
Hi, I'm Molly Peterson. I am a grandmother to Sebastian, who is in TK at Emma Wilson. I didn't know they were presenting when I wanted to come and say what a great school it is. I'm a retired school teacher of 47 years. I've seen and done it all, and I have to say, the camaraderie at the school, the way the teachers work at knowing not only the names of all of their students, but of every student who walks by their door. All of the staff is friendly and professional and knowledgeable, and I just can't say enough. I'm so glad my grandson gets to spend his first time at public school there. Thank you.
All right. Excellent, thank you. So Superintendent, we have,
Superintendent's report, you ready?
yep,
All right. Well, we have some information to share with you this evening, and I would like to first call up Mr. John Carver to kick this off.
It's really not fair that I have to follow that crowd.
I know, you can't compete.
That is so awesome. Those kids are awesome. Tonight, I would just like to talk to you about another awesome group that I am in charge of, that's my bus drivers. It is a job that most people wouldn't want because it's a split shift. You start early, you end late, and there's a lot of time in between. In order to be a bus driver, you have to apply with DMV for a Class B driver's permit. Then you have to pass the DMV driver's permit test. Then you have to pass the passenger endorsement test. Then you have to pass the DMV air brake test. Then you have to pass the DMV school bus endorsement test. Then you have to pass the DMV physical. All of that just to get your permit, and then you go to CHP and you have to become tested by CHP. You attend a 20-hour class provided by a California State certified driver trainer, who I duped into coming here tonight, Mr. Mark Alstad.
Woo!
You have to pass the CHP rules and regulation test. You have to pass the CHP first aid test or complete Red Cross online test and a CPR course. Then you have to submit to the Department of Justice a fingerprint background check. Then you receive a minimum of 20 hours behind the wheel training by Mr. Alstad. Then you have to pass the driving test that's administered by CHP themselves. And then every year you have to do a 10-hour training to keep up on all of your stuff. Now, in order for Mr. Mark here to become a trainer, To become a bus driver instructor, and the training course is conducted by the California Department of Education. It's a 3-week course that lasts a minimum of 8 hours a day. That does not include your 4 hours a night of homework, right?
At least 4 hours. No sleep.
And that's 5 days a week for the 3 weeks that you're there, and includes several night sessions. It covers 44 subject areas with emphasis on the fundamentals of classroom and behind-the-wheel teaching techniques, which Mark is really good at now. The fee for the course for us to send him there was $4,500. And there's usually an enrollment. I don't know, how many do you have in your class this time?
Oh, my goodness, probably about 40 people, I would say.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was quite a ordeal for the little old man that hadn't been in school for years.
So the purpose of this course was designed for qualified individuals like Mark himself who have the desire, the ability, and the attitude to become a competent trainer. He was provided with information on development of effective driving training programs, California laws, regulations, and rules governing passenger transportation, responsibilities and liabilities of carriers, instructors, and drivers, classroom and behind-the-wheel teaching techniques and lesson plans, guidelines and procedures for conducting an assessment of a driver training program, a network of contacts with state transportation officials and local bus driver trainers, methods of improving self-confidence in public speaking and vehicle operation skills. So with all that said, just to let you know, when Mark started the training program and is so confident in what he's doing, this is the first year that on the first day of school, we had 2 drivers without a route. We have drivers when, I don't know if you've seen the news, there's other districts and everywhere throughout the U.S. are hurting for drivers. So I wanted to make sure that I thanked Mark publicly. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mark. Awesome job. Thank you.
Thank you. You got to come back over here for a minute.
Oh,
Water bottle for you.
oh my goodness.
And there's a certificate for you. I can take your mic if you want. I can
Oh,
steal
I
that
wanna
back.
sing.
Oh, you want to?
Let's center up so I can get the board.
All right.
All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to ask everybody here that is in support of Mark, it came for that reason, please stand and be recognized. I know there were several of you that showed up from CSEA. No. Come back in the back. I love the support you give each other. It's great. I would like to transition now into an update from Alternative Education and Mr. Andrew Mole.
Good evening. I do want to express my sincere gratitude to Mr. Carver and his team for all that they do throughout the district. We call on them often, and it is amazing their response and their communication. We truly appreciate it. And of course, I always appreciate being here in front of you to thank you again for this opportunity to highlight some very special people in the Chico community. And fortunately for the Alted family, this gentleman has joined us almost 5 years ago. I'm here to honor a man who has dedicated the majority of his life to advocating for those who need it the most, the at-promise youth in different communities. This dedication has served countless numbers of young men and women in various capacities, and now we are extremely lucky to have him in Chico Unified. Excuse me. With an absolute heart of gold, he teaches with love and compassion for all students. He has been instrumental in finding creative ways to support students on the Fairview campus, offering to do whatever it takes to get students back on track and moving forward. I will never forget when he said, "Mr. Mall, I am all in." Like the majority of our wonderful staff, his classroom serves as a safe place at all times. A safe place where students are encouraged to be honest, ask questions, take chances, think outside the box, and be kind to one another. During every break throughout the day, you will see students in his classroom engage in academic conversations, playing chess, playing instruments, and as of last year, has become the hub for the Student Equity Alliance program. His small community fosters a sense of belonging and respect for others that spreads throughout the rest of campus. He teaches social science and creative writing officially, but more importantly, he inspires his students. He inspires all of us. I cannot say enough about this passionate educator. Also serving on the Untitled Equity Alliance, he takes his passion to another level, and with every new idea comes an opportunity for our students to become greater versions of themselves. I'm confident to say the same holds true for those of us who work with him. Collectively, we strive to support our students in being and or becoming competent and engaged citizens. This gentleman leads by example in this endeavor, and we get to experience it every day. Also excited to share stories, always excited to share stories about breakthroughs with students, whether academically, socially, or behaviorally. It fuels his fire within, and the trickle effect is remarkable. How great it must be to be a student in Mr. Bojak's classes. He works hard to make a difference in his students' lives, but in my humble opinion, he has a fantastic gift, and we are so very grateful for this gift. Michael Bojak is an incredible human being, and so please join me in congratulating him on receiving the Superintendent's Award, and thank him for his many years of service to the youth of our country. Thank you. We love you, Mr. Bojak.
Thank you so much for what you do.
Grab a picture.
Oh, there we go.
Scoot on over. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, and thank all of you who came to support.
Yeah, just a comment. All our teachers are amazing, but I always have a soft spot for our Fairview teachers. I think that they're all really special, amazing
Good job, all
people.
did.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much for all you do.
All right, so we're moving to announcements, and I get to go first. So the League of Women Voters of Butte County is hosting candidate forums, and they're covering the city councils, and they're covering school boards. And so next week, the Chico City Council and the Chico Unified School Board forums are on Tuesday, September the 27th at 7 p.m. You can go in person at the Chico Masonic Center, but you can also watch on Zoom and on the YouTube link. So those links are going to be posted on our website so that everybody can, if they can't make it that day or that time, they will be able to see the recorded version. So Chico City Council and the Chico Unified School Board Forum, Tuesday, September 27th at 7 p.m., Chico Masonic Center. All right, does anybody else have an announcement? Nope. Okay, so with that, we will move to items from the floor. Do we have somebody speaking on items from the floor?
We do. We have two speakers.
Okay,
The first is Molly Peterson.
okay.
You may be seeing a lot of me because I like to talk, but what I want to mention now is just to put something in your ear for you to think about and truly consider. I have been volunteering 3 hours a day, 3 days a week in my grandson's TK class. I can tell you I have never been so tired in my whole life after going home from 24 4-year-olds in the same room. Oh my goodness. I think that's way too many kids in the class, and I would really like to see you consider, at least for TK and kindergarten, a cap of 20 students per class. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and our next speaker is Rain Willis.
Good evening. I'm here to represent special ed teachers and aides.
I started subbing for Chico Unified last spring. There weren't as many teacher sub jobs as I've been told there were, but there were plenty of what are called instructional paraprofessionals, IP jobs. They are paid much less. However, the work is extremely hard. The children exhibit extremes of human behavior, and they are precious, love children. And the aides and the teachers work so hard. We have to keep them safe. We have to have eyes on them. And if we are down a person or two people, it just is incredibly challenging. But they will do it. I have my attachment, a PDF to the item from the floor, and that's where I have written about this. I encourage you to read it. I feel it is informative and it is compelling. And we can't educate children if we can't keep them safe. And they do. We do educate children. I run around with the little tiger going, tiger, because I have to chase the child to get her to look. And it's wonderful, wonderful work. So fulfilling and so rewarding, but it is so difficult. And I see part of my job as letting these teachers and aides know how heroic they are. They're the nobility. They're going to do that work no matter what they're paid. And so, as I put in my remarks, you're not going to attract better people if you will pay them an equitable amount of money. You've already got the best. What you will do is be able to get enough people so that we can keep the kids safe and we can teach them, because they learned and they love to be to school and they should be at school. And also, I just have to shout out to especially Little Creek, Chico Creek, but also Parkview, when the children talk about kindness out on the playground. The gen ed kids are so kind, so compassionate, so accepting. It is just a wonderful thing to see. And I'm having a really beautiful experience with this, but I also have to say, I've never, All right. I've never really paid attention to school boards particularly. That's not the case now. I would like to know who is going to make a priority of this issue, because as I believe in the ER, he said, people in these jobs should be making at least as much as somebody who's making pizza at Woodstock's makes. And you know this is important because I'm missing watching the SF Giants, hope to God, beat Colorado. So thank you so much for listening to me. Please read the attachment. Thank you so much.
All right, so anyone else, items from the floor? Is that it? All right, thank you. So with that, we'll move to the consent calendar. And does anyone wish to pull an item from the consent calendar? Actually, I do. I need to pull the Human Resources approval of classified human resources actions from the consent calendar. Pardon? 4.2, yes. Anyone else to pull an item from the consent calendar? Okay, seeing no one else, may I have a motion?
Sure, I will move acceptance of the consent calendar, less item 2.4.2.
I'll
Okay.
second that motion.
All right. Okay, so this will be a roll call vote. All those in favor of the consent calendar with the removal of 4.2 signify by saying aye.
Robinson, aye.
Lando, aye.
Kaiser, aye.
Dolby, aye.
Tennis, aye.
Okay, so that's unanimous. And then item 4.2. So I have to recuse myself from voting on this because a family member is listed in this, so that was the reason I pulled it.
I move approval of 4.2.
Okay.
Seconded.
Okay, so that's Eileen and Tom. Okay, and this can be then a vote by affirmation? Yes, okay. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I just wanted to make a comment that it's an extensive list, and I'm really happy with all of the new hires that we have. So thank you for all of the work that you've done to fill those positions. My microphone's way too loud. Anyway, with that, aye. Thank you.
Okay, so we have 4 ayes and 1 recuse. Okay, so we move now to the discussion action calendar. And the first is the resolution 1588-22, Williams textbook sufficiency.
That'll be me. Every year we come to the board with a resolution and certification form. A resolution with, is stating that we are providing sufficient textbooks and instructional materials that are provided to each student, including English language learners in mathematics, science, history, social science, and English language arts, and including English language development component of an adopted program, that are all aligned to the academic content standards and consistent with the cycles and the content of curriculum and frameworks. This is per ed code that we need to come to the board to approve the resolution and the textbook certification that we are providing sufficient textbooks to all of our students, and that including digital online curriculum.
All right. Is there any questions from the board? Okay, can I have a motion?
I move approval. Seconded.
Okay.
Dr. Kaiser, we do need to open a public hearing on that
Oh,
one.
public hearing?
Sorry.
Anyone in the audience have a comment or question? Okay, seeing none, I'll close public comment. And so we have a motion by Mr. Tennis and a second by Tom Lando. And because the last one couldn't be unanimous, we will have to have a roll call vote. So I'll start with Mr. Tennis.
Tennis, aye.
Dalby, aye.
Kaiser, aye.
Lando, aye.
Robinson, aye.
All right. Okay, so with that one, we now move to the discussion action of educational technology scope and sequence.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up our Director of Technology, John Vincent, and also the rest of my team to go over this technology plan and sequence that we're bringing forward to you tonight.
Good evening, Madam President and Board. Thank you for having us here tonight to present this. I have to say first off that this is something I've desired to present to the board for some time, and so I'm excited to be able to bring this to you tonight. As you know, things are changing in this world. Technology is really becoming so common in so many things nowadays. We had someone come out and look at our house to put a new roof on, and he actually used a drone to measure the roof. It's showing up everywhere. And so providing, yes. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Thank you.
So because technology is becoming so prevalent in our society, it's really important that we teach skills to our students. And so what this Common Core scope and sequence it represents is the technology skills that Common Core and SBAC, as well as ISTE, have put together as being skills that our kids should know by the time they exit school. So what this represents is really kind of a roadmap of what those skills would look like based on different grade levels. So for instance, in first grade, how to turn on a computer, how to move a mouse, how to click on an icon, and it just builds on it from there until kids graduate. So, any questions?
It's very impressive. This is a very impressive lineup. And I might be showing ignorance here, but is this brand new? We're just rolling this out for the very first time right now?
In our district, yes. So this is something that was put together by, I think, Fresno first, and then it went to Long Beach, and Long Beach actually put it in this form. It's something we're adopting, districts across the state have been adopting, and actually I've been seeing this in districts across the nation as well.
Can somebody explain to me the link between this document here and Common Core? What's the connection between?
So the link to the Common Core standards is is indicated on the chart by abbreviations such as RL.4. And what those abbreviations stand for are targets, which are composed of numerous standards. And the targets are what is measured on the Smarter Balanced exams, the Smarter Balanced assessment. So the English and language arts state tests the kids take in the spring cover and measure those targets.
Thank you.
So some of the items listed on there too will have other descriptions, such as digital citizenship, and those would be ISTE standards instead of SBAC or Common Core. That would be an ISTE standard. So the ISTE has there's 6 standards total. 3 of those are included on this: the creativity and innovation, digital citizenship, and technology operations and concepts.
When talking about these standards, this is more of a roadmap to make sure that we can understand for our teachers to be able to continue to look at to see that they're having their students doing these things in these grade levels. There's a lot on here like you guys were talking about, and this is, yes, for us to roll out, but it's not, these standards have been being taught ever since we rolled out our Chromebooks and our iPads to our students, but we wanted to be able to, again, have some sort of roadmap for people to follow. So we want these things to be conscious of what we want our students to know and what they should know to get to the next grade level.
Is there some measure of accountability, or how is it being tracked that, and this is not to put more work on teachers, but how do we verify that this is being hit at these grade levels, and what's the evidence to support that?
I'm going to address the microphone here. One of the most exciting components of this is the accountability is actually in the product. So for example, if you look at some of these standards, they build upon each other. So a student will need to be able to perform these skills to create the product for the teacher in the classroom. So rather than it just being a standalone competency metric that's just kind of floating out there, they're actually going to be demonstrating expressing their learning for all of these standards by the products they produce for their teachers.
I think that for folks who aren't or haven't been ingrained in the world of education for the last 10 years, it's really important to remind folks that your point about it not being standalone is this is not Common Core, and NGSS is not No Child Left Behind. It's not checking a box and making sure, like, we did that lesson, so we're done with that, and we're moving on to the next thing. It's really a spiraling effect that everything kind of builds on top of everything else, and it's all really incorporated within the context of each lesson.
Spiraling is a great word, because that's exactly what's happening with these skill development. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I also think that the stress on digital citizenship is really critical. We certainly know that many individuals have been abused by people who were exploiting the digital world, and we need to safeguard our students, so I think that's a really critical skill set.
Yes, I agree. And we'll be talking more about that in October when we're having our school safety workshop. Part of that will be cybersecurity or student safety in the cyber world.
I just wanted to say what a nice looking document it is. I wrote one of these about 8 years ago, and I wish I had this to look at instead, because it's way nicer than the one I produced. So thank you and nicely done.
I have to give Kelly McLean credit for putting this together. This part came from Fresno, but she did the cover page and did edits inside here, and it turned out beautifully.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of spreadsheets and things like that, so I definitely like it. I was wondering where, this is my facetious voice, by the way. I was wondering where the skill of not putting the entire email message in the subject space is. Does that fall in here?
That's an advanced skill. That's way in the back.
Yeah, or reply all. How to change your default to reply.
Reply.
Yeah,
reply
not
all.
to, yeah, away from reply all.
All right, any other?
Struggles of middle school.
Any other questions or things that you would like to add? John, do you have anything else?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to need you guys to approve this plan.
Yes. I was waiting for somebody to make a motion.
I'll move that.
Oh, yes, okay, public comment. Always forget that part. Anyone in the audience want to comment? Okay. I will warn you that my 7-year-old thinks he wants to be a gamer when he grows up, so it's definitely at every level. Okay, I'll close public comment with nobody, and now we may move to a motion.
I move approval of this.
All right.
Very
Mr.
thorough.
Tennis has moved approval
I'll second.
and seconded by Caitlin Dalby. All right. Yes?
I am living proof of the necessity of this standard. And those of you that have to help me on occasion understand that comment.
I think we've all turned to our kids sometime and said, can you help with this? Yeah. Okay, so we do have a motion, and start with Mr. Tennis.
Tennis, aye.
Dalby, aye.
Kaiser, aye.
Lando, aye.
Robinson, I.
All right, 5-0, thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, so we move to Human Resources, Resolution 1589-22.
So I'm bringing you a resolution to eliminate 2 positions. One is 2.75 hours and the other is 1 hour from Neil Dow. The backstory on this is that these are TK aid positions. It's not occupied. The person that left this position moved over to Chapman. And when she left that position, there's already a 5-hour aid in there. And we have a set amount of hours for TK classrooms at 7.5 hours. So we're going to recreate a 2.5-hour position in order to get to that. When we went from half day to full day 4 or 5 years ago, there were a lot of piecemeal positions that were out there, and because we owed people time. So as they move on to other positions, then we move those into the direction of standardizing 7.5 hours per classroom. So that's what we're doing here.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification up front.
I thought there might be a question on that, so I
All right.
got an answer.
Okay, any further comments or questions from the board? All right. Any comments or questions from the audience? Okay, I'll close public comment. And may I have a motion?
Sure, I'll move adoption of Resolution 1589-22.
I'll second.
Okay. Moved by Tom Lando, seconded by Caitlin Dalby. Okay, we can do a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, passes. Okay. So we move on to approval of 2022-23 tentative agreement with Chico Unified Teachers Association.
Okay, so I have before you here a tentative agreement with Chico Unified Teachers Association for a salary adjustment. As you recall, last year we brought to you a 3-year agreement which had an opt-out clause due to declining enrollment. We opted out, and we are bringing back this year 2 agreement. I'm sorry, we're bringing back this agreement that is exactly the same as year 2 in the previous agreement. So the amount of the dollars, as Jacqueline will discuss in a few minutes, is the same that would have been in the old tentative agreement. But this makes it clean because we opted out of the previous agreement. We have to have an agreement in order to proceed through payroll and making those adjustments.
All right. You see Jacqueline's going to...
She will in the next
okay.
next section.
Thank you. All right, any questions? Okay. Anyone in the audience that wishes to raise an issue? Okay, I'll close public comment, And may I have a motion then?
I'll move approval.
I'll
Okay.
second that motion.
Okay, motion by Matt Tennis and seconded by Eileen Robinson. So we can do a voice vote again. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, 5-0. And now we move to approval of the 2022-23 tentative agreement with the California School Employees Association.
Okay, same story on this. We opted out with the agreement with CSEA Chapter 110 for the same reasons. They had the same identical language that we had with the teachers. And I'm bringing also forward the same agreement with CSEA for approval for that bargaining group as well.
Okay, any questions, discussion? All right, open it for the public. Any comments, questions? Okay, seeing none, close the public comment, and now may I have a motion?
I move approval.
I'll second it.
Okay, Eileen Robinson and Tom Lando. Okay, we can do another voice vote. All those approving the 2022-23 tentative agreement, California School Employees Association, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, passes. So now we move to business services, and it's the public disclosure documents for compensation, AB 7556.
Good evening, Board. So thank you for ratifying those tentative agreements. So as a result of that, there is legislation AB 2756 that requires that the dollar value be disclosed at a public meeting related to those tentative agreements. So the first step is the public disclosure related to CUTA. So part of the tentative agreement was a formula on the actual compensation increase. So that formula came out and resulted in a 7.02% increase for CUTA. So it will be just over $6 million as depicted in the attachments to your agenda, ongoing. So for the employees in this unit, it will be in effect with their October paycheck, and then in the month of November, they will get a retro check related to the work from the beginning of their contract through September 30th. So I'm asking for your approval this evening related to the dollars associated with the TA.
Okay, discussion or questions by the board?
Only that I wonder if it would be useful to put on the record if, Mr. Hanley, you wanted to explain to the public exactly why we're opting out and what latitude it gives us. Because we're opting out in order to pay the exact same amount we would have in the contract for this year.
Yeah, so good question. We were in a 3-year agreement, and our concern is in the 3rd year, not the 2nd year. With declining enrollment, you have declining revenues, and there are a lot of unknowns with that. So we will go back to the negotiation table in January when we have an idea where our enrollment is headed. And then also we'll have a brand new, not a state budget, but a governor's proposal in January too. So we have a lot more information going into the next year to make better decisions for the 3rd year out.
So this gives both us and the union more flexibility in terms of waiting to find out what the data looks like.
Yes, absolutely.
2 years out. Thank you very much.
Exactly.
So we don't get our enrollment until?
We will have
C-bids.
C-bids in October and P1 by then, but we don't have P2 until May? May, yeah. So those are the real numbers that we will need to know in order to negotiate moving
All
forward.
right, good, thank you. Okay, I'll open it for public comment. Anyone? All right, seeing none, I'll close. Okay, with this, may I have a motion then?
So moved.
Tom Lando moves.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Eileen seconds. Okay. We can have another voice vote on this. So this is item 93.1. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. Unanimous. Okay, we move to 932, which is the same issue, but now it's the California Schools Employee Association, CSDA.
Yes, it's the same disclosure as we just did with our teachers, and this is with our CSEA group. So they have the exact same language for compensation, so they too will be receiving a 7.02% increase to both their wages and earnings on the salary schedule and an additional 7.02% for the district's contribution for their health and medical benefits, essentially. So their total compensation dollars will be just over 2.6 million, as depicted in the attached PDF, and that would be ongoing.
All right. Any questions, comments?
I'm sorry, I might have missed this. What was the percent again?
7.02%.
Same percent, okay, that's
Same
what I thought.
percent.
That's what I thought. I just
Yep.
wanted to make sure that that was all clear. Thank you.
Okay, no other questions. I'll open it. Public comment. Anyone wanting to make a public comment? All right, seeing none, I'll close it. Okay, so may I have a motion then?
I move approval of this item.
Okay, so Caitlin moves approval.
Seconded.
Tom Lando seconds. And again, we can do a voice vote on this one. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. All right, so move on to the public disclosure documents for the Chico Unified Management Association, CUMA.
Yes, so while not an official bargaining unit group, there is compensation for the CUMA group, the Management Association. Again, the exact same, 7.02%, just over $1 million for that group. But because it does have a financial impact and does impact our budget, it does need to come forward in a full disclosure and to be approved by our board.
Yes, Matt.
How many staff do we have who are covered by this agreement?
89.74 FTE, because we have some partial.
FTE stands for?
Full-time equivalent?
So this is district headquarters staff, a lot of them,
School site leadership principals, assistant principals, our psychologists, directors, the four of us on this panel here.
Okay.
And occupational therapists.
We do not negotiate with management, so it's a board decision. So, and that's why there's no tentative agreement.
But as for the four of you on, just right there, two of you have separate contracts, right? Yeah, okay. And does this attach to those as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I move approval.
Okay, so I have a motion by Matt Tennis.
Just a point of order, just to make sure that there's no public comment.
I will, yeah.
Thank you.
Do I have a second on this?
I'll
was-
second that motion.
Was there public comment?
Not yet, I haven't asked.
Will we have to ask for public comment before we have a motion on the floor?
Is there any public comment?
Please.
Okay, seeing none, I'll close. All right, so we have a motion and a second on 9.3.3. We can do again a voice vote. All those. Eileen?
I seconded.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So we can have a voice vote again. All those in favor of 9.3.3 signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. Okay, so we move to 9.3.4, the relocatable classroom building at Parkview Elementary.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. We bring this item forward as information only because back in June, the board approved an emergency resolution to place a portable classroom building at Parkview Elementary School. We're required to update the board every month until the project is closed out and completed. Tonight, you have approved extra expenditures for Americans with Disabilities Act lighting from the portable classroom door all the way out to the sidewalk in front of the school, which was unforeseen requirement from the division and the state architect, as well as new ramps. There are two entrances to this portable, so there's two ramps. The classroom is fully functional, operating well, and the school is pleased with the work. So it's just an update for your information. Any questions?
So the work has been done?
We have not proceeded with the path of travel lighting or the ramps,
Okay.
but we got board approval on that this evening on the consent agenda, so we will start on that right away. Hopefully, we'll just have one more update next month, and we'll be completed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, I can open it to the public. Anyone have any questions? All right, this is, doesn't require action. It was informational, an update. Thank you, Julie. Okay, so we move now to the Chico Unified School District Governance Handbook for 2022-23. And this does require action. So do I have any board members with queries or comments on this? Yes, Mr. Dennis.
Is there any sort of summary that anyone might come up with to describe what sort of changes have been made? How would you characterize changes that were made to this?
So the changes that would be made can only be made by the board, and there were no changes submitted for this
Right.
particular document.
So this is the same one that we were looking at a year ago?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Just for clarification, this space and time is an opportunity to make those changes, correct?
Yes, the board asked at the August 3rd meeting to bring it back so that there was more time to review the board governance handbook. And by all means, if the board wants to make changes, now would be the time to do that.
And we could vote on those changes tonight, or we could want to sit on changes to vote on at the next meeting if any board member needed time to consider.
So the intent was to bring changes forward and vote on those tonight, but the board can always extend that.
And just for my clarification for our process, if there's multiple changes that any particular one or multiple of us want to make, would we do those with different motions or try to put them all on the table at once and then vote all on at once?
Historically, we have identified areas where we wanted to make changes and made suggested changes in writing so that each member had a chance to see it and consider it before we actually get to the meeting. And you have something to work from rather than just drafting on the spot. No one has indicated from the last meeting that they wanted to make changes, or we would have seen something.
Yeah, I definitely have a couple of changes that I want to maybe bring up, but I wouldn't want to push for a decision tonight necessarily.
Right.
But I have some things I'd like to discuss.
Then
So I was just kind of curious about how we went about that. Partially it's my fault for just not being really on it. I really appreciate Erica's prompting last week to remind us that this was coming back up on the agenda. Having 4 jobs definitely has taken a toll on my attention to this particular thing, so.
Well, it's been the practice to put forward something in writing and maybe an explanation of why you think it should be changed, and then we deal with it at the next meeting.
Okay, I appreciate the context. Thank you.
And we're fine with the one that's in place. I mean, we're not operating without our document. This is our document. So I have no problem with waiting if you have things that you'd like to bring forward.
Do you have a context that you're?
I have a few things, so when we're ready to start to maybe chip away at some of those, for me to just put it out on the table, maybe one at a time. Do we want to start on that? It's always unclear to me how we do board items because it's us. We're not waiting for a staff presentation, you know.
No,
so rules of order kind of get a little blurry for me here.
No, this is ours. So
This
if
is
you
our
I
had
understand that.
something that you wanted to direct attention to.
So my first thing that I'd like to direct attention to is that the document has a lot of references to she, he pronouns, and I'd like to consider changing those to they. They, them pronouns, gender-inclusive pronouns, to set that standard of being inclusive of all identities is the first thing that I'd like to consider.
Caitlin, where are?
Oh, I don't have particular pages. I just know as I was reading through this
Right.
the third time today.
What was it again, the topic that you were in?
when it refers to, there's usually a S with a slash and a HE for she, he. Whenever she, he, referring to a board member, instead of having she, he, we could always just replace that with they, them.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I get you.
Mhm. So that was
Yeah.
the first thing that was, I honestly think it's yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with the intent. It looks like it only pops up once in the document, actually.
It's funny that that stuck out to me because I read it last week and that stuck in my brain and then I wrote it down today, so.
All right, was there another?
I do want to get a little bit more into looking at, first of all, the section that starts on page 10, that's issues, lines out issues and protocols. Just for our own reference sake, it would be nice to number those. Issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, so that when we reference them, they're numbered. So my next step would be issue 1. It seems pretty loose. It just says that we will revisit this once a year. I don't know if that's fine or if we would want to consider making it at a particular time in the year. Is it always in July usually, unless we kick it down like we have this meeting? Issue number 2, which isn't numbered, but it's the second issue that's listed, clarifying the voting no courtesy is only a courtesy and not a requirement.
Right.
And so a general understanding that it's a courtesy and not a requirement, I think that either just reminding ourselves as a board that we don't need to ask for clarification when somebody does vote no, that we just understand that it is a courtesy to explain why you're voting no, but you don't have to, and none of us have the right to ask that explanation of somebody else. I don't know if we need to put that in writing, but just something else to state. It has been something that has come up in some, points of contention in the past. And then the bigger one that I would like to address, which is probably not something for tonight, is our process for selecting officers.
The actual nomination process or the qualifications for officers?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is something we spent time on 4 years ago. But revisiting it is a good idea. One of the things that I think might help all of us now is to talk through why we selected certain qualifications, because going back and talking about that again is helpful.
Yeah. And I want to speak candidly on my impression of how that goes, because when it has qualifications, it seems like it seems from my perspective that it's been suggested qualifications and not like concrete qualifications. And so, to me, it feels like, this is ideal, but we don't necessarily have to abide by this. And can we make that more concrete?
You are correct that was the intent. If it's not clear to a new person considering that, then we need to revisit it.
The qualities come out of CBS's workshops.
The CSBA workshops?
And a little bit too of our own experience.
Yeah.
We added or subtracted from suggestions because of experiences we had as a board.
So speaking from experience, and this is being a little bit more candid than I'm usually comfortable with, which is weird because I'm usually pretty forthcoming. I think that it's really important that we have a board president who has officer experience, who has went through the process of working with staff on the agenda and who understands the rules of order and the decorum and just, all of the minutia that goes into running a meeting. And so to me, it seems like this seems really self-serving, and this is not the purpose of this. It's not my intent to be the school board president, but I do think that it would be important for a school board president to have vice president experience before sitting as a board president. But of course, that's just one person's opinion, and it would be up to the will of the board to make that change in our criteria.
Not only vice president or other offer experience, but the training that goes with being in a president leadership role is very important for, you know, when I stepped in, had I not had some training, it is such a huge step up to take on that role that without training, it'll eat you.
Yes, and again, speaking from just personal experience, this is only the middle of my second year on the board. I went through the president training last December, and I've had the privilege of getting to run a meeting, and I really think that experience and the experience of working through agendas and communicating frequently with staff, like, it's really important to understand that context. I know that I could have handled being a board president this year, for example, but I think that having a longer period of time sitting on the board is really important for that context. And I can also speak from personal experience this year, just being the vice president, that it has helped me see what it takes to be a board president. And so I wouldn't want anybody to think so highly of themselves that they could just take it on without any kind of training or any kind of longevity on the board, whether it be, you know, at least 1 year in an officer position or whatever that might be. And again, this is just speaking candidly from personal experience as an educator sitting on this board for only, you know, 1.5 years.
Yep.
So the context of this is then that you have given a framework. You would need to put those suggestions that you would like to argue for in writing, and then they would get disseminated to the full board, and we would vote on this at the next board meeting, because we're all going to sign this, so everybody has to recognize their commitment.
Right. So my understanding is we can make changes tonight that maybe seem a little bit less intensive. We could make other changes at the next meeting based on a more fully presented set of criteria or whatever it might be.
Moving it forward would be my suggestion, and giving you, Caitlin, or any other board member an opportunity to deal with whatever topic they may want to bring forward too would be appropriate. It just works better to have something to work from at the meeting.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want to ask a question of clarification.
Yes.
You said something interesting just a minute ago. You said that you made the point in response to some of these questions that have been raised that we're all going to sign this. So,
Yes.
So we're going to want time maybe to go over it and make sure we're really on board with what's being put in it.
Right, that's why we've had it for, you know, a month. Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, a big document like this, you know, I mean, I'm not necessarily one to go around just signing big, long lists of rules that I'm going to impose on myself just kind of willy-nilly, you know? I mean, with all due respect to all of you guys and all the qualifications that you have, just because we agree to put something in, you know, some manual, doesn't mean I'm going to, you know, sign my name in blood on it and commit to always, you know, upholding that standard and through all circumstances. The first year I was on the board, I did not sign the manual. You know, I was kind of being, you know, maybe kind of curmudgeonly under the COVID circumstances, and, you know, and I felt like it wasn't something I wanted to do, you know, so I just didn't. The second year, you know, I think I wanted to project more of a maybe team player mentality. And so even though there were things that I was kind of plugging my nose about, you know, I just went ahead and just kind of did it for the team. But if it's our understanding that I 100% agree with everything in that book, before I put my name down on the policy manual, which I see as kind of a formality, especially being the clerk, then I might not be signing it again this year. I just want to throw that out there as a possibility.
Yeah, even as written or with any potential changes. But also, this is an opportunity, I think, a really nice team-building opportunity to give your input on what, would make you more inclined to sign it. And I'm not saying that's what I expect or what anybody expects, but I feel like it's an opportunity for us to try to collaborate on something that we really all can feel good about, if it's possible to all feel good about something that we can agree on.
Let me just kind of lay out, if I may continue,
Yeah.
Madam President, my sort of view on this, right? I mean, when we took the oath of office, right, it didn't say anything about the Chico Unified Governance Handbook, right? It was all about upholding the Constitution, the legal and administrative mechanisms that are put in place by laws that are higher than us, for us to run the district. I think that's really what ultimately, the laws that are being imposed on us, those are the things that, in my mind, we really need to obey, not like, some big kind of like, effort for us to all have some sort of Vulcan mind meld and sort of the five shall become one sort of a thing. No, I mean, I think we all have our own strengths and weaknesses, and, the idea is that we, put our ideas out there, and, sometimes we're in the majority and sometimes that we're not, and it's not the end of the world, it's just the way it is, and, not everyone is the same. And
Sure.
so why should we go through an exercise of trying to create a document where it sort of tries to uphold the idea that we are all the same?
I hear what you're saying, and I'm not here to change your mind or try to argue with you. I want to frame it from an educator's perspective in this world of education, this is a democratic process, and yet, as a teacher, we have a classroom full of students who are very diverse, with very diverse backgrounds and diverse understandings and experiences, and yet we still have to set standards in our classroom for team building and trust and building relationships in order for everybody to feel heard and valued and successful. And that's what this document really is supposed to be. It's supposed to set the foundation for us to operate in a way that makes us feel as though we are really working for the best outcome for students in this district as a cohesive unit. And it allows for us to disagree. It definitely identifies in there that there will be disagreements, and we can vote no, and just what's the most civil way of doing that, and the understanding that we have and can remain collegial about it, and not go the divisive route, and yet, and this is meant to be, more of a unifying way for us to operate under legal pretenses, because that's what we're here for, and set that example of working together for the goals of the district. Does that make sense?
This falls in the category of, what I like to call schools of thought, right? Schools of thought is a great concept because I'm sorry to be keeping all you guys awake, but
it's only 7:15.
here rather than home, but like, there's validity, there's validity in the idea that people come together and, sort of learn to work as a team,
And to disagree as a team.
It builds a better
yeah.
society when we can look for areas of common ground, But also, like, a student, in a classroom needs to learn to be subordinate to, the teacher, the structure of the school, and sometimes you're not an equal, sometimes you have to take, direction from somebody who's in your authority over you and, fall into line. And so, I mean, there's a time and a place for all those ways of thinking.
You're right.
We
A
need to fall
time,
into line
definitely.
under the laws and the structure that is kind of, imposed on us, and not necessarily being trying to, like, imagine that we don't need that. That's all I'll say on the topic.
Eileen?
This has been very valuable discussion. Under the effective governance title in the beginning of the document, I think all of the things Member Dalby and Member Tennis have just said are there. That is what you both just described.
And I will remind people, I mean, new members have only had one chance to go to the CBS annual meeting where you really get exposure to how much diversity, even with school boards, there is, and the kind of issues that for them are popping up more dramatically. So I do think this is largely CBS framing.
CSBA?
CSBA framing. And it is about collaborative work as a team. It isn't about erasing dissent.
Right.
And so, you know, I encourage everybody to actually, I thought this one was extremely well collected and stated, but if individuals see some particular area that strikes their eye, you know, the she, he kind of thing that maybe nobody else noticed, then again, that's the kind of thing, but I do encourage you to present it in writing because it's important that when we do have it put together and we do sign it, that we feel like we had a role in it. So is that what you want to do, is to submit suggestions and your arguments for those and then come back at the next meeting?
That would be my desire.
Yes, Tom.
Two things. First of all, I want to thank both of you for that, because that was really a fascinating conversation. And as a social studies teacher, hearing different ideas about how people organize themselves and give power to one another is really fascinating. And so to hear it up here is kind of tickles my teacher heart in a really good way. Come to mind, because I was listening to Mr. Tennis think about, well, you know, the Constitution say, right? There was no outside authority saying you've got to do it this way. It was a group of people who came together and said, we need to govern ourselves somehow. Let's find a way to do that where we can agree to disagree if we need to. That said, I hear you. This is mostly, this is not legally binding in any major way. So again, it's just an interesting conversation. I really do want to thank you both for letting us have that. Secondly, you mind if I make a motion?
No.
Sweet. Because I think it's both small, easy to fix, and pretty obvious in that there are people in our community and at Chico Unified specifically who do not identify with either the pronouns he or she. It seems simply respectful to move the one instance of that, which I believe is on page 13. It says he or she wishes to nominate. Near the top of page 13, if we can simply change that to they, looks like the correct one. If the person they wish to nominate instead. That would be my motion.
Which page is this?
Top of page 13,
13.
about 4 paragraphs down.
Yeah.
Says, member does not have to be present to be nominated, but the person doing the nominating should know beforehand if the person he or she wishes to nominate is willing to serve. So that's really getting into the person that they wish to nominate.
Yeah.
Easy fix.
I think there's a couple that are in here. There's, Jacqueline just found one on page 10.
In that case, this PDF is weird because it's not coming up when you search. What else did you find?
I found 5 instances of she, he, or he, she, and then there's also his, her that I saw
Oh, his,
referenced
her,
just
thank you.
in scrolling as well. So,
Yeah, how interesting. What are some of those? Well,
So perhaps that kind of a selective search would be helpful. If we would highlight that so people can see it.
sure, absolutely.
So the motion would maybe be more about making the
Motion
document gender
would-
inclusive.
Yeah, would be to change instances of she, he, or his, her to their respective they, them, gender inclusive pronouns. I'm pretty sure the intent there is clear.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Tom Lando and a second by Caitlin to conduct a search for gender-specific pronouns. And change those to gender neutral.
Yes.
All right? Okay. So, can I have a name vote on that, please?
Robinson, aye.
Lando, aye.
Kaiser, aye.
Dolby, aye.
I'm going to abstain on this, and the reason
Okay.
is that I want to confer with my grammar sources and see if I think that that's good grammar.
Okay. So that's 4 yeses and 1 abstain. All right. Shall we then, if there are any other explicit suggestions, that they get submitted in writing?
Can I make a motion to number our issues and, just a really simple thing, just to number the issues that are lined out starting on page 10? Because they're not numbered, so there's no way to just be like, oh, look at number issues and policy, sorry. I only accidentally printed out half of the document, so I keep flipping around the same 8 pages instead of the full thing.
So these are the protocols on page 10?
Yes, starting on page 10, the issues and protocol, I just would like to see those numbered for reference, better reference in the future.
All right, so that would be 10 through 13. Okay, so we have a motion. Do I get a second?
Sure, I'll second that.
Okay, so a motion by Dalby and a second by Lando that on page 10, starting, the issues and protocols, that they are just sequentially numbered. Okay? Are you clear?
Page, which page, sorry?
10.
Protocols, so the bullets or the,
It would be issue 1, issue 2,
Oh.
issue 3.
Yes.
They would, in other words, they'd have an identifier.
That, I agree that the tie-in to other issues, having worked with that, it was horrible. It was like trying to interpret a contract without contract numbers.
So is that motion understood by all?
Yes.
All right, so may I have a vote then?
Robinson, aye.
Lando, aye.
Kaiser, aye.
Dolby, aye.
once again, I'm going to abstain because, to be transparent, I'm just totally ambivalent on that question. I'm totally ambivalent about it. I really don't care about the numbers
Oh.
on those boxes, yeah.
All right, so motion passes 4 to 0, abstention. All right. So with that, any other suggestions were more contextual, correct?
Yeah, and I think maybe last motion by me would just to ask if we can put this on the next meeting, which would be the workshop instead of the next regular board meeting, so we can have that discussion sooner than later. And I promise that I'll give my feedback well in advance. And I think I would send that to the superintendent to disseminate out to the rest of the board.
Okay, that was a motion to put it on the next
I'll
board meeting.
second that.
And it's seconded by Eileen Robinson.
Unless there's other comments or motions that other board members would like to handle now. Will we be able to fit that into the board workshop meeting, or is that going to be too tight on time?
It is the Safe Schools presentation. It is going to be one of our longer board workshops. But if the board is willing to extend the time they're here, that we can add that to that.
But just put it at the end after the workshop.
I would make an appeal to Ms. Dalby. Maybe you got enough of what you wanted from this conversation that we don't need to put that on the next agenda? Is that possible?
Well, it's going to go on a future agenda, so whether it's the next one or the one that's the next regular meeting in October is what I'm aiming for. I have 3 more things that I would like to clarify or add or change. but should be put in writing, so. It's whatever is the will of the board.
October 19th would be the actual meeting.
Would be the next regular
Yes.
meeting
I
or the
would
next.
suggest October 19th because I think the school safety one is going to be very significant.
Okay.
And I do agree, Member Dalby, that some of the things that you mentioned are things that we have struggled with in the past and need to clean them up until we're not struggling.
Okay, well, it gives me a little more time to do a little bit more thought
Yeah.
massaging of my ideas, but I'll get that to everybody sooner than later for consideration, but I don't want to push it any further than that meeting. I'd like to have all of this in place by then, or by the end of that meeting.
Okay, so are we agreed October 19th?
I will accept that.
Okay. All right. So anyone who does have suggested changes other than the two that we've mentioned in the past needs to submit those in writing with your persuasion so that the full board can look at it. All right, with that, we move to, is there a board member's request to agendize an item?
Sort of.
Yes.
Because I don't think this rises to the level of an agenda item. But I was hoping that, I noticed a while ago, and maybe I'm wrong, I hope that one cannot sign the volunteer application to work in a student's classroom online. You have to have the paper copy. Is there a way to make that available online?
I don't know the answer to that because I think you have to show identification, but let me look into that and make sure.
Because I do intend to ask us to push for a lot more parent volunteers, community volunteers, so it'd be nice if we had a streamlined way to do that. I had a parent complain today that they had the form and they kept forgetting about it, and if they could just do it online, it would be so much nicer. So,
I'll double check.
Thank you so
Great
much.
question.
So no.
Okay, all right. So with that, anybody else? No. All right, we are adjourned. And thank you, our audience, for those who stayed.